So, you've just bought yourself a ticket to a MilSim event. Congratulations, you've completed the first step in your MilSim journey. But, where do you go from here? Now, this might be your first MilSim event, or it might not be. And last time, things didn't quite go so well, and you missed a couple of things here and there that you didn't realize were going to be as important as they actually were. But not to worry, that's where this video is going to come in. Welcome to the Wolf's Den, and to all of our new viewers, I am very excited to have you guys here for a video that I've been wanting to do for a while and a lot of people have been asking for, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet, and with the weather finally seeming to get a little bit better here in the States anyway, MilSims are back on the menu, boys. So I felt it was only right with my personal experience in the MilSim field to give you guys a little bit of a guide, some tips, some tricks, maybe even some things you might not have thought of when you were packing up for your very own MilSim event. And with any good guide, we're going to start with the basics. Firstly, let's go over the things I'm not going to be covering extensively in this guide. This guide is not meant to advise you on what specific platform you should use or what type of gear you should use. Those things, in my opinion, are very, very personal and more on individual preference more than anything. So me telling you what I would use in terms of like a helmet or a hat or what kind of comms, things like that, those are more up to personal preference, and same goes for your replica of choice, whether it be an AK, an M4, the correct choice of an ACR, an LMG like a 249, a bolt action, or say a Marksman rifle or TMR like an SR25. Those things are going to be very specific to you, and depending on what event you're going to, say you're going to like an AMS event where your role is chosen when you pick your ticket. That is more of a personal preference and more up to you as the player. This guide is going to focus on things that are meant to help your experience go a bit smoother, keep the chaos to a minimum, and hopefully better prepare you ahead of time such that the flow of the event is a lot smoother for you and help better prepare you for the day or days of your event. Things that will preferably keep you in the fight longer such that you can actually enjoy the time out with your boys and your squad and not have to be stressed out about things that are going wrong. Now with that said, let's get into the most vital piece of gear you will have for your entire MilSim experience. The fob bag. Now as you can see, this has been the fob bag that I've used for Central Fronts 1 through 4, and it, I didn't clean it ahead of time. As you can see, it's still got quite a few little friends hanging on, those little burrs that we get out there at Bing for those Central Front events. But this has been the bag that I've used pretty much for every MilSim event, even Bing's single-day MilSim events. This is what I bring with me, and as you can see, it's not necessarily a large bag by any means, but it has plenty of space. And that's going to be important for a lot of the stuff that we're going to be covering today. As you can see, the desk next to me, it looks a little bit more dirty than usual. It's because we have a bunch of stuff over here that we're going to be covering and kind of talking about briefly. That is going to go into your fob bag, as well as some things that won't go into your fob bag, or things that I personally don't put in here, and I'll explain why I don't as we go through them. But the most crucial thing is to remember that the fob bag is a fob bag. It's not a bag that you keep with you during combat. It's not something you take out with you when you're actually in gunfights. This stays at whatever your spawn point is, your fob, if your MilSim events call it that. For MilSim West and for AMS, it is a fob bag. That's what they call it in their briefings and such. Each event, I know for sure, highly recommends you have something like this. Obviously for MilSim West, it's going to be a bit more than just one bag. You're going to bring a lot more with you, but for like an AMS event, all you're really going to need is something like this. But, as I said, important thing to remember, this doesn't go with you. This keeps all your stuff secure at your respawn point, at your wherever you are going back after gunfights, after you've been removed from the game, to respawn, reload. This goes wherever that is. Now, what's even more important than simply having a fob bag that has plenty of space and isn't going to be too much for you to carry in one trip to your fob is what goes into it. So, first and foremost, gas and ammo. Now, I'm sure this is probably a no-brainer, but you are going to need gas and ammo in the field with you. You don't want to be leaving the AO or area of operation during every single time you have to reload. Trust me, if you're at a bigger field or if your spawn is really, really far away from, say, the parking lot at the field's venue, It's going to get really annoying and really time consuming if you have to constantly go back to your car to get these two items. Now, of course, you don't necessarily need an Odin, while I highly recommend having an Odin. Any speed loader will do. Simply having ammo on hand and a way to load mags with your ammo is going to be vital while you're out at your fob. Because after every gunfight, this is something I do, what my squad does, all the boys have some sort of ammo device that can load up their specific mags. Whether you're using M4s, AKs, again, any platform you're using, you want something that can load ammo quickly, get you back into the fight. Again, gas is kind of the same way, but for me, gas is only for my secondary. So, personally, I only limit myself to having 2 cans of gas at most, if that. Sometimes it's only 1 if it's like a brand new can of gas. Only bring 1 if this one, like this one right now, is about half to a third full. I'll bring a second one with me. But ammo, gas, I'd say are the basics of a fob bag. So just slam those bad boys in there and you're good to go. Now, quickly in relation to your ammo situation, obviously one of these isn't necessarily holding a lot of ammo if you're using some higher capacity ammo boxes, or say like if you're an LMG for your squad. Now, what me and my boys do for basically all of our events is we do something called the group ammo. Get in the bag. Get in the bag! So the way this works is the entire group on general will use the same canteen or big thing of ammo. Yes, it's an Arizona tea jug. Shut up. Arizona tea is good. If you haven't watched the Fat Electrician's video on Arizona tea, do it. Also, this best tea, okay? Don't even at me. Best tea you can get in a bottle. Don't care. But the point is, this is group ammo. The way that group ammo works is one or multiple people will bring out an entire thing of ammo for the entire squad to utilize. Now, if you're using ammo that's more specific to you, like if you're a marksman, or say you're an LMG and you want to use different ammo because you're using a lot of it, or you're using very specialized ammo, obviously group ammo isn't as much for you, but this is something that you bring so that all of your boys can kind of run the same ammo and quickly just dip into the pile. It makes things a lot more easy. Plus, if for whatever reason they have to throw you a mag, you know you're using the same ammo, so they can just toss you a mag and you're going to be good to go. Group ammo, if you have a group of boys that you know you can trust and that, you know, they're actually going to put it to use and they're not going to, you know, be dumb.
Like we did yesterday.
You ain't got a mag in, Chief. We're here to convert, and those who don't convert will be shot.
Don't do a point, that's gonna hurt. That's what I want to hear. You and you.
Okay, well maybe that's not a good qualifier. Me and the boys, we got up to some shenanigans, okay? Not the point. But those are our first 2 essentials, gas and BBs, because without those 2 things, if you're running a gas gun, you can't do anything without gas, and if you're using a replica at all, you can't do anything without ammo. So those are your 2 basic necessities for a fob bag. Group ammo, that's something separate. That doesn't actually go in the fob bag. I mean, I guess for our purposes, just put it in the bag. Now, batteries are a bit more of a preference or a use case type thing. Obviously, you have your AEG batteries, you have HPA batteries, and you have batteries like this. This one is just a big ol' charging brick, if you will. Now, these are preference-based items. Why do I say that? Well, for me personally, I don't usually bring batteries out to the field because I use batteries with a fair amount of oomph to them, where I really don't need to be changing them out, and the only thing I would be risking by bringing a battery out in my fob bag is if it starts to rain or if the conditions get a little nasty. That would potentially jeopardize my very nice and sometimes pricey batteries that, quite frankly, I don't see worth the risk. Now, if you're using batteries that don't have quite as long of a lifespan, or batteries that, say, are for your optics or for like lasers, things like that, that's a bit different. You can bring those in a like sealed, waterproof bag. That's a little bit easier. But me personally, I don't like to bring these types of batteries out in my fob bag. What I'm more inclined to do is something like this. Now, this obviously isn't for AEG batteries like this. Wouldn't recommend trying to plug that into something like this, But what this is actually for instead are for those of you that are like me that like to record while I am loading my mags, while I'm getting a drink, getting a snack, whatever it may be. That is prime opportunity to utilize something like this, such that my cameras stay nice and charged. I'm not having to worry about cameras dying halfway through, which you guys know has happened more than once at larger events. It's happened plenty of times, and this is to help fix that. So for me, this is 100% a must-have if you're going to be doing any sort of recording, any sort of filming with cameras like this, or anything else really that you can plug into a USB cable. When it comes to AEG batteries, again, it's preference. I personally don't like doing it for the reasons I've already kind of given you guys. If you want to bring your own batteries with you, I would just recommend putting them into some sort of water secure case such that your hard-earned money and well-spent money on batteries isn't wasted because, you know, things got a little too wet.
Yeah, boy.
So go ahead and just toss those in there if that is your preference. Otherwise, don't worry about it. And we'll move on to our next item, which I think is equally important. So we've got our ammo, we've got our gas, and we've got batteries. Now, what comes next? What comes next is something that I think is equally important, but is often forgotten when prepping for MilSim events, and that is spare clothes. Because let's face it, you get into muddy puddles, you get wet, you get sweaty, you get hot. Sometimes you just need to change out of what you're currently wearing to something a bit more comfortable to help keep you in the fight, keep you running. If the event you're at is a bit waterlogged, or if there's a chance to rain, or it's actively raining, having spare socks is very, very important. And not just that, but ideally, in my opinion, bringing a set that are like the pair that you're wearing on day one. Okay, well maybe not that one, because that one's got a massive hole in it. Ideally, you don't want a sock that has a massive hole in it. Ideally one like this where it doesn't have a sock. How in the world? I don't even know how long that's been there. Anyway, not important. What is important is having a spare pair of socks, at least 2 or 3. Now, if it's a multi-day event, I would suggest having socks for each day that you're going to be playing. Obviously, you're going to start off in a pair of socks with your boots or shoes. Having a spare set per day is going to be vital in the event that you get wet, that there is going to be rain, that the field is just a little bit muddy. Having spare socks, trust me, it's more important than you think. And ideally having socks that, as I mentioned, don't have holes in them. That's very important. Along that vein, obviously, I personally will bring a spare shirt. As you can see, I'm wearing a short sleeve, sort of lighter shirt. If for whatever reason the day calls for it, or it's a little bit more just blech, I'll have something that's longer sleeve, kind of like my normal combat top. It's all up to personal preference, and obviously it goes without saying, you want to make sure if your event requires certain camo patterns that you have the right camo pattern or the right color pattern to go with your spare items. Socks obviously don't matter because they're going to be covered up by boots or shoes or whatever. So, but very important, definitely bring socks. And personal preference, I would recommend bringing a spare shirt, either a heavier one or a lighter one, depending on the temperature difference for the day. So, with that said, go ahead, throw those in the bag. Our next 2 items are 2 that we're going to do in tandem, just like we did with gas and ammo. And arguably, if you ask me, they are the most important things for you to have in your fob bag, or at the very least on your person during a MilSim event. And they're the thing that I see people not do or not care enough about. And oftentimes it's the thing that gets people out of the field the quickest. Snacks and wall work. Okay? Listen, you get hungry, you get tired. Sometimes you just need a little snackaruno. It doesn't have to be this exact. This is just the snack I had on hand. Okay, they're good. Leave me alone. Dark chocolate's good for you. They have dark chocolate in them. I'm not here to preach to the choir. If you're a milk chocolate person, whatever, you're wrong. Anyway, I'm rambling. But stuff that's going to get into your system quickly and keep you engaged in the fight and not be so gosh darn hungry is important. Something that I've actually started doing for my squad is the big, massive cartons of goldfish. I found are big favorites of my squad. So every year, for the last couple of years, I have been bringing the big tub of goldfish out for my entire squad of boys. And I gotta be honest, it's one of the easier snacks to bring because you can just dump them, get a handful, munch while you're reloading, while you're getting batteries changed out, while you're doing whatever. And it just makes for a really good option, because then you're taking care of not just yourself, but other people in the field, and there's plenty to go around. Now, alongside our food, which we can throw into our fob bag, bam, we got hydro. And by hydro, I mean hydration. Now, there's a couple of ways you can approach hydro in terms of getting water into your system during a game. These necessarily aren't going to go in your fob bag. These are going to go on your person. Whether you want to do a traditional hydro bladder like this one obviously is a very, very large, it's a 3.5 liter. This is the standard that I went with for a very long time. I think for the first 3 events that I did, it was this. And this obviously just goes onto the back of your rig, on the back of your carrier, whatever you want to do. But hydro, I cannot stress enough, is very important. Now, the other option you can do if you don't want to have it on your back, let's say like if you're like me and you have a tank back there already, or you have other stuff back there, say like an HVA tank, or you're carrying some other piece of gear, some piece of equipment back there that won't allow you to use a bladder like this in the traditional sense, your other option is something kind of like this. Now, if you've never seen one of these before, quite honestly, I enjoy this quite a bit, especially on those hot days. See, what you do is the night before, preferably, you would take this, unscrew the top. There's a couple of different options, but most of them, they have a little fill valve on the top. And you would take, say, a funnel or something like this, and you would fill that bad boy up with water. Now, once it's done filled up with water, you take your lid, you screw it back on, and you throw this bad boy in the freezer. Once you freeze it the next day, you come in, you have a big old brick of ice. The purpose of that is you can throw it into your plate carrier, and now not only will you have hydro on the field, because as the ice melts, it turns into water for you to drink through your little tube here. Again, same exact tube that you would get with something like this. And as that ice melts, you get water straight off the tap. But the other purpose that this serves is it keeps you cool on those days where it's really, really hot. Or if you're someone like me and you just run hot during MilSim events because you sweat a lot, this is a really good option. This is something I've started doing a lot more than a traditional bladder, just because of the cooling factor, especially as AMS events have been more in the summertime or like the early fall, where it's going to be a little bit warmer. Very, very solid option, and quite honestly, if you haven't gotten one of these, I would highly, highly recommend you do. At the very least, have a few bottles of water in your fob bag. If you don't want to have a bladder, if you don't want to have something like this, like an ice plate, definitely have at least 2 or 3 bottles of water at a minimum in your fob bag. I do know that events like AMS will have water bottles and stuff for you guys to drink at your fob, but don't rely solely on that, because trust me, those waters, people forget, people are lazy, or people just simply don't care to bring their own because they're like, oh, there'll be water there, I don't need to bring my own. Those waters will go very, very quickly. So do yourself a favor, bring your own water, whether it be hydro like a bladder, an ice plate, or just bottles of water for yourself. Because trust me, those bottles of water, if you're doing a multi-day event, they might be there at the very beginning of the day. They will not be there by day 2, or at least not in the same quantity that they were, because they go very, very quickly. So, please, hydration is very important for these longer events. Do not heat cat, do not overexert yourself without water. It's very important. You will run out of water way quicker than you think you will. And while these things usually won't go into your fob bag, obviously like a water bottle would, well, I guess for our purposes, just put them in the bag. Now, we've talked a lot about the things that you might need going to your first MilSim event, or to help smoothen out your MilSim event if you've gone to one before. But there's a bit more to just bringing stuff to your MilSim event to help prepare you ahead of time. Now, what do I mean by more than just stuff that you're bringing with you? Well, of course, I mean your mentality going into this event. See, if you've never been to a MilSim event, you kind of have to have the right mindset going into it. Part of that mindset is the fact that, well, someone has to get hit at some point, and when you do get hit, sometimes things don't always go as planned. Hit! See, when you get hit, it's very important that you have a dead rag. Say something like this. If you want to have something a bit more fixed to your carrier, this is a good option. This is made by Elite Force, not sponsored of course, but I've had this for a few MilSim events. It helps quite a bit. You can take this, you can put it on your head like that, or of course you can just drape it over yourself on the front of your body. Now, if you have something on the front of your body, obviously if you're doing this, the person that is shooting at you potentially can't see this. So what I recommend, if this is not something that you have on hand, having a actual dead rag like this, because then what you can do is you can take your dead rag, you can throw it up on your head, and voila. Now you signify to everyone that you're actually dead. Of course, calling out that you are hit helps quite a bit as well. But something that people seem to forget, and you've seen it a few times in my own videos, is just because you have a head covering or this little rag here, you can still get hit by someone. Let's say you have a force over here, you have a force behind you, anywhere, you can still get hit at any moment. Just because you have this on your head doesn't stop somebody from being able to hit you. So that's what I mean when you have the proper mentality. You gotta remember, sometimes if you are in a spot where there are two opposing forces shooting at you, you just have to have a little bit of patience, have a little bit of sympathy, and don't be this guy.
You alright, Doyle?
Somebody's angry.
What is going on?
My goodness.
Go eat a snack!
So, you guys saw how that was for me getting smacked around. Ghost, how was that for you? What do you think? Everyone, say hello to Ghost. It's been a while since you've been on the channel. The FAL review? Right? FAL review, I think? Yeah. Last time you were on?
Yeah, I think so.
But you've not gotten a shot to that. How was that?
The spot was even better shooting you.
We're going to cover some more things back at the desk, talking about some gear that you might need. But, again, have the proper mentality going into your MilSim event. You know from doing Bing Ops, if you're sitting out in the corner and, you know, there's gunfire going all around you, it's just an inevitability. You're going to get hit at some point, even when you have your dead rag.
Oh yeah.
So, just have the proper mentality. Don't be the guy that we mentioned before. Keep your cool out there. It's a lot better, trust me, and it'll make for a lot better of an experience.
And if you get shot in the dick, don't cry about it.
Exactly. He gets it. Let's get back to the desk. Now that we've gotten through some of the basic things like water, food, ammo, gas, spare clothes, and batteries, let's talk about some things that I've picked up or that I've learned doing multiple events, and things that I wish I would have realized sooner, because these are a bit more obscure things that I think a lot of people don't think of. A map, a med card, which most events do require. This is obviously my AMS med card, but it's very important for your squad in the event that you heat cat, you get injured, whatever it may be, because accidents do happen. Having a med card for your team is going to be very important. And along with your map and med card, preferably they will be laminated so that you can utilize this third item, is a dry erase marker. Yes, I know this is not a dry erase marker, it's a permanent marker. I couldn't find a dry erase marker on hand. I don't know where they all went. They probably exploded into the ether for all I know. But it serves the same purpose. Dry erase marker, not a permanent marker. Now, the reason you want that, this obviously is a little maparino. You can see up there, it's a map from UFS Central Front 1. And why a marker would be important is, let's say you and your squad are sitting down, you're kind of planning out where you want to go. Having a marker to quickly doodle, I'm not going to draw on this with a permanent marker, but having a little marker to kind of doodle with and plot out where you're going to go on your map is going to be rather useful. I've used this a couple of times with my own squad, kind of helping to orient, because I am the field local. The rest of the boys, they've been to Bing many times, but it's my home field. So being able to help orient my team and kind of plan out our move across the field with a map like this, whether it be an older map like this, or I personally recommend printing out and laminating a fresh map of your field, especially if it's a field like Bing, where they change things somewhat frequently. Having a fresh map to help kind of orient yourself and plan out where you want to go, have a reference for what you're doing, where you're going, is actually a lot more helpful than you might think. But both of those items, Obviously, med card, very important. Map, not as important. And the Sharpie, not quite as important either. But definitely have one of these. A map and a marker are super helpful for helping to orient your team. You'll thank me later. And once you have those items, throw them in the bag, except for your med card. Now, I'm going to put the med card to the side. Map, that's going to go in there. Med card preferably goes somewhere on your person, whether it be in a little map pack if you have one here. I know dudes like to put them in there. When I'm wearing my long sleeve, it has a panel here where I'll put it into that right side. And the most important thing, wherever you put that, you want to make sure your team knows where it's at. So that way, if you do go down and they have to get it for you, they can do that. Because obviously people have allergies to certain medicines. There's a ton of information on these med cards that's very important in the event you get injured. So having one of these, very important. Definitely have one on hand if you don't already. Moving on from those three items, we get to something that, in my opinion, is both overlooked and sometimes overhyped. And that is a set of tools. So, as you guys know, I have been taking for a very long time, kind of working on replicas and doing my own tech work for quite a while. And while I do keep this little set here with some Allen keys and a driver like this, such that I can use all the little bits and stuff that are in here, here's the thing with bringing tools, and I think people overlook this. If you can't make the fix in 5 minutes or less, don't bother bringing the tools or trying to fix it. And here's why. Very often I've seen people bring out a gun and something goes wrong with it. And they're sitting at the fob, or they're sitting in like the middle of the field, not actually playing, trying to fix their gun, stressing, losing their mind for 30 minutes to like an hour. And the entire time they're doing something, they have no reference for where the parts that they're taking apart are going. They are doing it in an environment that's not clean. And ultimately, it's going to make for bigger potential problems if you're doing that out in the field versus if you would just leave it be, bring a spare gun, and save the fix for later. Now, if it's something easy like your motor's out of alignment and you just need to quickly like adjust that, having tools for that, obviously very, very easy. Just bring some Allen keys, a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head, whatever it may be. That's easy enough to do. But like I said, if you can't make the fix or if you can't make the adjustment you need to on your replica or on your piece of gear with the tools you have in under 5 minutes, I wouldn't bother with it personally. And the reason is, you're there to enjoy the experience, you're there to hang out with your squad, you're there to have fun. Sitting there stressing over trying to get your gun back up and running for any amount of time beyond that 5 minutes, it's not going to do you any good. You're better off just going and grabbing a spare gun, borrowing a gun from one of your squad mates, whatever it may be, and getting back into the fight and having a good time. Because, trust me, I've been there. Having a gun go wrong and just sitting there and thinking about nothing other than that completely ruins the experience for you. And you're not going to get out of that event what you should be, which is ideally some positive interaction with your team, positive interaction with the airsoft community, and obviously a positive memory of that field and of that experience. So, if you're going to bring tools, just keep in mind, obviously, I bring plenty of tools for myself and my squad because that's kind of my thing. I know how to work and tinker on things. But if you can't make the fix in 5 minutes or less, rule of thumb, don't bother bringing the tools necessary to do it. The one thing I don't have out here in front of me, actually, that I do recommend quite a bit, I'm going to move this here, completely forgot, that's an oopsie on my part, is a cleaning kit. In here, I do bring this with me on all of my events. This is actually like an actual gun cleaning kit, but it works for airsoft as well. We have some cleaning rods. We have some different little ends for each one. We have actual brushes and cleaners and things like that. This I do recommend. Definitely bring some cleaning equipment, because the most common thing I see happen out on the field in terms of problems that occur with your guns in particular are dirty barrels, things getting lodged into places they don't belong, sticks, leaves, whatever. So definitely bring a cleaning kit with you. Actually, we'll just quickly, before I forget, throw it in the fob bag, along with all your other tools, whatever else you may need. Throw that all in there, just haphazardly, just get it in there. Don't even worry about it. You can't get caught on things. Yeet. Allen keys, definitely worth. throw it all in the fob bag. And like I said, keep the tools to a minimum because they're going to be heavy, they're going to take up a lot of space. And again, you're there to have fun. You're not there to stress out about trying to fix your gun, making it absolutely perfect in the middle of a MilSim event. You're there for the experience. You're not there to play Resident Tech in the dirt with all your pieces all over the place, okay? Trust me, you'll thank me later. I've been there, done that. Not worth your time. Keep it under 5 minutes for teching type things. Otherwise, save it for after the day's over or after the event. Following in line with the tools for your guns, for your replicas, for your gear, there is one other thing that I personally recommend and that I've started bringing with me, which is this little guy. No, it's not a measuring cup. I know it looks like it, but it's not. Now, as you can imagine, with Bing being a forested type area over the years, I have found plenty of unwanted pests. Is that one okay? Pests. We're gonna go with pests. Found plenty, I mean ticks, okay? Out of context, it sounds really bad, okay? Listen, I'm talking about Listen, just bring a little dude to help get ticks off of you, okay? No way I talk about this sounds good out of context, so I'm... just bring this with you, okay? Just trust me. It'll help if you get the ticks on you that you don't want. I don't know what ticks there are that you do want, but it's not my point. Shut. Just throw in the fob bag. Moving on from that, we of course get to a couple of items that I've seen other people bring, but I don't often bring myself. And that is silicone oil and silicone-based lubricants. Now, this is more of a thing for like my GBR guys or my HPA guys. I don't really see a need for this, again, in the AEG space because, like I said, keeping your teching under 5 minutes, to use these two things effectively in an AEG, it's going to take a lot longer and you have to get a lot more stuff done for a gas blowback rifle of some kind. I could kind of see it, but for me personally, it kind of goes back to the same thing why I don't bring batteries with me, and that's because some of these items are temperature sensitive. I don't want to bring these things out when it's really cold or when it's really hot or for them to get messed up by the environment. I do see people bring these for those types of scenarios, but if that's your thing, if you want to bring them, I'll leave it up to you. I personally don't because I don't want to ruin these things. They're very important for keeping things running back here at the teching desk. So I typically don't bring like salves or lubricants or anything like that. But if you're in a specific situation where it could be useful, you can do it. Just be cognizant of keeping these things in good shape because obviously if they're not in good shape, there's no point in having them out in the field with you to keep your guns in good shape. So gently throw these into the fob bag because I don't want them to spill everywhere. Just put them like right there. Now, as we're winding down on items behind me, as you can probably tell, there's a couple more things that are more scenario specific, and we'll go ahead and start with one of them. The first thing that we're going to talk about is an emergency blanket. Now, while I don't expect any of you are going to be playing at events where an emergency blanket is going to be needed to render some sort of life-saving measure, what an emergency blanket, in my opinion, is good for, or something like a, why can't I think of it?
2,000 years later.
Poncho. That's it. I got there eventually. Don't judge me. An emergency blanket or a rain poncho can definitely help keep everything in here dry if you don't have a backpack that is actually like moisture wicking or waterproof. Definitely recommend a emergency blanket or a rain poncho. Just a small thing, nothing too crazy, but go ahead if you want to bring something with you to keep your stuff dry, throw this into your fob bag and you'll thank me later. Next up is yet again another preference-based thing, which are binos. For my reconnaissance boys, if you're going to be doing some sniping or if you're going to be doing any sort of reconnaissance out on the field, I know there are plenty of dudes who like to go play the recon role in your squad, and binos or a mono, which I do have somewhere, is going to be very, very nice to have out on the field. I've not personally had a need for binos before, but I brought these with me and I've been able to lend them to somebody so they can go do a little bit of reconnaissance ahead of, say, a mission. This is definitely more of a LARPer thing for the immersions. This isn't a vital thing. It's more just something that if you want to bring it with you, you can. Also, is it bugging anybody else that this one cover is missing? Like, God, I don't know where it went. Okay, I have the 2 on the bottom, I have the 1 on the top, and it's bugging me. I don't know where this other one went. Anyway, it's not important. Just, if you want to bring binos or a mono, or even a rangefinder, I know dudes do that as well. If you're going to be doing some sniping and you want to, really get into the immersions of sniping, or marksmanship rather, binos are not a bad option. I'm going to find that other cover, I swear to God. I don't know where it went. I'm just going to throw it in here and I'll remember later. I don't know. And the last thing that we are going to talk about is something that is definitely more obvious than the others, and that is medical type items. Now, this is an ace bandage. There's a couple different variants that I have here. And from AMS events specifically, these aren't necessarily used for medical items, but for your medics in-game to wrap around your arm. You guys have seen it plenty of times if you've been on the channel long enough to remember Sentry Front 3 or 4. I'll leave links to those 2 playlists down below if you guys want to check those out. But many times you could see either me wrapping someone else up for Sentry Front 3 as a medic, or getting wrapped up by a medic during Sentry Front 3 or 4 with one of these. Now, obviously, certain events will require like an ace bandage. AMS does ace bandages, MilSim West does tourniquets, and other events might do other things in terms of getting you back into the fight with your pseudo-medics. But the other thing I want to talk about with medical items is the people that actually want to carry medical items for emergency situations. I think it's not a bad idea. I have my little bag back here that has medical stuff in it. It's nothing crazy. It's just some tourniquets, bandages, stuff like that. But here is the thing with medical items. It's got a caveat to it. If you're going to bring medical items, make sure you're competent enough to know how to use them properly without hurting somebody in the process. You can have all the medical stuff on you, but if you don't know how to use it properly and you don't know what you're doing with it, you're more likely to hurt somebody than you are to help somebody. There's the classic meme of the tourniquet around the neck if you've got a bleed around the neck, or like if you got, for dudes, you get something like you get hurt on your leg and someone goes to tourniquet you and they forget that, balls exist. You might lose a ball or 2 if they tighten that down too hard, and that's not a good day. So what you don't want to be is you don't want to be the medic that loses a guy his balls or puts a tourniquet around their neck or something else to that effect. Don't go crazy with medical items. Obviously, if you are someone who is medically trained and certified, that's a different story. Having medical items is important for someone like that. To put it bluntly, stay in your lane. If you don't know what you're doing with medical items, if you're not trained, if you don't have any experience taking care of someone's health and well-being, don't even bother bringing medical items. They're just going to be added weight on your kit that you're not going to use effectively. If you are and you want to do that, be my guest. I've seen plenty of times people that bring stuff like that, and it actually helps to keep somebody from getting even more hurt. An experience I had a couple of MilSims ago, I believe it was Sentry Front 2. A guy fell, busted his head, and we had a dude that wasn't the certified medic on the field come over, wrap him up, and he was good to he obviously wasn't good to go, so to speak, but he was kept from being more injured because of that person's aid. When it comes to medical items, obviously if your event requires medical items for healing, quote unquote, after you've been hit or something like that, obviously bring extras because trust me, these are easy to lose. I have 20 of them, I think, something like that. I bought a bunch of 5-packs, and more often than not, I'll toss some spares to my buddies if they lose them, or if they get torn or lost, whatever. So having those is fine, but when it comes to actual medical items, there's a give and a take there. I have some on me, like I said, but I don't know that I've ever actually had to use them, thankfully. And more often than not, you probably don't need it. So, with that said, that is going to be the last couple of things that we throw into our fob bag. One last thing that I want to recommend that you guys definitely have on hand, or that your squad has on hand, are anti-fog wipes. Because far too many times I have seen people completely removed from the game because they're fogging and they can't see anything. It happens a lot. It's a very common issue in Airsoft. If you're running goggles, if you're running glasses of any kind, fogging can be a potential problem. So, what I recommend, and what I don't have them out right now because I'm too lazy, but they're down in my big case where I keep all of my stuff, including my fog bag, as I'm like traveling, going places, is like, it's like a 300 pack of anti-fog wipes. Highly recommend that you have that on hand. That way you and your team have plenty of that to go around. Help keep your guys in the fight, keep people moving, and ideally help the experience be a little better. And, you know, obviously being able to see is kind of important as well. Other than that, though, everything else that you guys would need is personal preference. Obviously, make sure to bring mags with you. Have plenty of them. Events will limit the number of mags you can bring with you. For AMS, it's 6, I believe. For MilSim West, I think it's also 6 mags in total for M4s, AKs, things like that. But obviously, bring spares if you want to. Bring spare box mags for your LMGs, spare mags for your snipers, whatever it may be, speed loaders. Whatever, anything else really is up to personal preference. If there's anything I forgot, please let me know down in the comments below. But that will bring today's video to a close. If I need to do a part 2, I would be more than happy to do a part 2. I genuinely enjoy doing videos like this. Not that the gameplay isn't fun, but doing stuff like this to help the community is something that I really enjoy doing. So if there's any videos like this that you guys want to see me make in the future, be sure to let me know. And I will do my best to accommodate whatever you guys want to see me do on the channel next. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that notification bell so you get notified when more videos come out. I have some more in the tank that are kind of like this, not so much centered around gameplay itself, but I think you guys will enjoy them all the same. Got some videos in the tank that I'm kind of excited about, I'm not gonna lie. I think they're gonna be really fun to make, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Let me know that you guys want to see some more videos like this in the future. And be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you're going to any MilSim events, let me know which ones you guys are going to. I'd be very interested to see what sort of MilSim events there are out there that you guys are doing locally at your own fields, or what your guys' favorites are out there. Of course, if you want to support this channel further, you can head over to Wolfden Apparel through the link in the description to get yourself a comfy shirt or some badass decal stickers, one of which being this lovely logo back here. By the way, let me know what you guys thought of these. These are not green screened in, they are actual, like, pieces. Huzzah! I told you I was going to find a use for them. If you guys saw them in a previous video, I don't remember what video it was that I showcased this. It might have been the Masada review? I can't remember. But either way, I did finally find a place for these. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing that there in the background. If I can find the little latch here. Come on. Bam. Huzzah! But yeah, you guys can head over to Wolfden Apparel. As I mentioned, get yourselves a comfy shirt or some badass decal stickers. And as always, this has been Wolf, and hope to see you guys next time I hit the field. And of course, don't forget, the most important thing in a MilSim is to have fun and keep your attitude, because trust me, you don't want to be this guy.